Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for a match preview show as Villa travel to Wolves Saturday tea time live on Sky Sports. I am your host, Dan Bardell, joined by the man who was my host earlier on Sky Sports News, David Reed, to chat through the game. This show is sponsored by Luke Roper, and if you want to use the code TVV20, you'll get 20% off everything Luke have to offer. Quick disclaimer before we start. I've literally just walked through the door after a long drive back from London. Dave and I are both up very early this morning. I don't think people realise the glamour of television isn't all that sometimes. So we're a bit all over the place, both of us, I suspect. We've both glanced at Unai Emery's press conference, but not watched it or anything along those lines. But Dave, are you feeling good about this?
About this podcast or about this game in general?
The podcast to start. Let's
I'm feeling great. You were up much earlier than me, so you know.
What time were you up?
You were 4:45. The alarm.
I mean, that's not nice, but it is considerably better than 3 a.m.
Yeah, I mean yours is way worse. I feel for you. I do feel for you.
I feel it does show with the bags under the eyes for those watching on YouTube. The makeup has definitely worn off.
Works wonders.
Dave and I were both on Sky Sports News this morning. There was a few Villa segments that have appeared on social media. I think there's one on YouTube as well, if people want to go back and watch that. Matt Bevan was obviously watching because he says, afternoon, quick aside, seeing the boys on Sky earlier, thought Dave R looked a lot smaller than expected and Dan looked very tall. Weird what TV does, but I will say that the TV hasn't done anything. That is the state of affairs, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously 6'4" and you're 6'7", so
Yeah.
that's what it does. No, I am smaller than you. You are a taller man. I think I'm about 5'10".
No, you are not 5'10".
No, you're not having that. Smaller. Get away.
I'm 6'1". You're not 5'10".
Nah, come on. I'm at least 5'9.5".
You're not. I reckon Savundra's about 5'6".
Yeah, he's about 5'4", isn't he? I think so.
Yeah, and then I think you're a bit bigger than him. I would say. Jasper is. We'll get away from who's the tallest. It is me. I am 6'1". I am 6 foot plus. So that's probably why I look taller than Dave on the TV. Jasper is celebrating because he says Watkins is staying. I mean, I didn't think it was ever in doubt, to be honest, Dave, but that was a positive to come out of Unai's press conference.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it was really ever in doubt. Once the John Duran deal accelerated and it became clear that Duran wanted to leave and take up the opportunity in Saudi Arabia, there was absolutely no way that that Villa would allow Ollie Watkins to go. And I think, the other side of that is that Unai Emery's explained today that they have had a conversation with Ollie Watkins about his future, and he has kind of reaffirmed his commitment to Villa and that it's him that wants to stay. I think that's important to point out. Villa don't keep players that don't want to be there. Diego Carlos is the perfect example in this window. He asked to leave, and that was facilitated in this transfer window. So, Villa don't want to keep players that don't want to be there. Similarly, John Duran, if he'd have turned around and said, I'd like to stay and continue my development here, obviously the money is a factor coming from Al Nassr, but I think probably he would have ended up staying if he'd have, forcefully argued that he wanted to stay at Villa. So great news to hear that Watkins wants to stay. I don't think it was ever really in doubt.
No, in fairness, the deadline for Saudi Arabia isn't actually that far away, and nothing's been announced yet. I mean, I believed everything had been agreed. It would be a surprise if it didn't go through now. But can you imagine if we get to 9 o'clock? Or is it 8? Is it 8? I don't know the time difference. 8:59 Saudi time, wasn't it? Or was it 8:59 our time that the deadline shuts?
I think it's our time this evening. I think. Okay. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything about the deal today. I mean, I suspect it's still going to plan, and clubs take time to announce deals, don't they? Once the medical and the paperwork is complete, they want to get him in the country. They want to do some video content. They want to, make a big song and dance about an arrival of a player, as clubs do in the Premier League. Really, in England, it's not a kind of 5-minute job to turn around video content with new signings. So, I mean, I haven't heard anything to the contrary about that deal. So, as far as I'm aware, it's still going ahead. So we'll wait for that announcement to come.
Yeah, we are off the clock now, though, Dave, aren't we? We're not necessarily gonna hear everything. It's been a long day. A few people referencing Marcus Rashford in the chat. I don't know whether that's a concrete rumor, but I did say to Flex earlier that would not surprise me if that suddenly started happening and Rashford was linked with Villa because they've now got a bit of finance and are in the market for a forward player. That actually wouldn't surprise me at all. But then I'd say also the position he plays in on the left-hand side isn't really one Villa are needing. They need a genuine attacker.
Yeah, I would agree. And also the finances of the deal with Manchester United would be difficult. I mean, I can only imagine. I've not heard anything about any particular interest from Villa, so that would be absolute speculation. I haven't read any of the articles that have linked him, and if there was any interest from Villa, it would, I'm sure, only be a straight loan, and there would have to be some negotiation in terms of the coverage of Rashford's wages. And as you say, I don't particularly think it's a position where he's going to come in and get a lot of game time, because I can't really see him operating as the second striker, and then Villa do have options out wide. So I would say that's unlikely, but I'm happy to be proven wrong by other people and more reliable people.
Gaming and stuff in the chat saying Matteo Moreno is a pretty reliable source, I believe. That he's correct in that statement. So if it is him reporting it, there might be something in it. It wouldn't surprise me if there was just some form of interest on Villa's side rather than anything concrete that they're going to make a bid or anything like that. I think it's probably just one that he will be a player that's on a list somewhere at Villa Park, I would imagine, and maybe there's been some tentative inquiries, but we'll see what goes on to happen. And it's worth saying as well that Jacob and I sat down last night and did a transfers video, so if you haven't watched that yet, go back and watch or listen to that show, and you'll find out some more transfer information. Jacob is very much in the know with these things. Dave, we're not in the know on what on earth Villa are going to do tomorrow team selection-wise, because I said earlier, there's every chance me and you might get a call up to the bench tomorrow, because it really is short on numbers at this point for Villa. I guess the team kind of picks itself. Emery's press conference didn't give too much away. A bit confusing that he didn't reference Onana when talking about, the players that were injured. And I've texted Jacob, who I know was at the press conference, to see if he can shed any light on whether Onana was mentioned. So hopefully he'll text me back during this show. But if Onana is not back, it's pretty clear that the team picks itself, and it's probably the team that finished the.
Yeah, you're right. We're not in the know about what Villa are going to do this weekend, but I think you don't really need to be, as you say, because there aren't that many players to choose from, and they're actually at the moment having to delay potential loan deals for youngsters. One example being Sil Swinkles, who has been available for loan in this transfer window, really highly thought of centre back, and now he's pretty much expected to join Bristol Rovers, but only after the game against Wolves. So I suspect he'll be a part of the matchday squad. But it's just a kind of example, really, as to how Villa are almost delaying things a little bit, simply because they haven't got the numbers to choose from. You mentioned injuries there, yet obviously injuries to key players, key positions where Villa don't have a great deal of depth. So you feel like it will probably be Bogard at right back, and as you say, the team that finished the game against Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, there is an argument that he could play Garcia, but I think it would be a bit tough to real baptism of fire to throw him in at Wolves away, wouldn't it? With no experience, obviously he's been playing in the second tier of Spain. You'd imagine he'd need a bit more bedding in time in terms of getting used to the group and training. Obviously, he wasn't available for the Champions League on Wednesday. So I guess Bergard will be right back. I guess Conser will be centre back with Kamara, and I would assume Luka Dean will carry on, and Villa try and keep it reasonably tight in the opening stages of the game. McGinn coming into midfield alongside Tielemans, and then the same front four as the last game for us. Marlon, at least, will be back as an option as a game changer on the bench. Dave, I guess that's a positive. Dave, no, he's took his headphones out. Don't think he can hear me. I don't know what he's done here. Had an absolute stinker. Get those headphones back on, Dave Reid. Honestly. Got to get the headphones back on. Why would you take your headphones off mid-show? He's still smiling, Dave Reid, but can't hear me. This is not good. Right, I'll have to carry on and pad whilst Dave tries and sorts himself out. So yes, Marlon will be back on the bench. Obviously, we had a little cameo from him against West Ham. That's pretty much all we can do. Coming on as a sub. Like I said, the bench is going to be going to be all right. Frankenstein bench. Yes, Dave. 1 minute. I can see that you're struggling. Apologies to those watching live, and apologies to those. Oh, Dave's gone. Apologies to those that are listening via audio. Dave has, for some reason, decided to take his headphones off mid podcast, and now he's trying to get back in, and I'm not sure he can hear me. Now he's not present on the screen at all. This is absolutely brilliant stuff. And oh, look at him. He's gone to get his commentator headphones to try and save the day here. I'm very, very sorry for this. It's not great podcasting from the channel as normal. But if you do tune in most weeks, you'll be familiar that this is the kind of thing that we encounter. Lee Johnson says, look at his little gormless face. I'm not sure if he's talking about me or Dave. Lee, I'd like it if you would clarify. Presume as you've used the word little and we discussed heights earlier, that you must be talking about Dave Reed with his gormless little face. Dave, are you back with us? Oh my God. He's got all the gear, but no idea. The second set of headphones on, and he still can't hear me. I don't know what to do. Dave, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, he's back. Why on earth did you take your AirPods out mid-podcast? What made you think that was a good idea?
You cut out, and I wasn't sure whether it was my internet or whether it was my audio. Okay. And then do you know what happened? You cut out, and then I could suddenly hear a baby, and I was like, "What's going on?"
That will be your baby, not mine. I don't have one.
That would be my child, and I was like, "What's going on here? Bardell's cut out?" And suddenly I'm hearing some like groaning, and I was like, "What's going on?"
So, but you're back now, and that's the main thing.
That is the main thing. So I scrambled to get some other headphones and refresh my page.
You did well. We're back. You missed.
I saw a comment about my gormless face, which is
Lee
terrific.
Johnson has clarified that we both got a gormless face.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
Cheers, completely understandable. In fairness, that I would have a gormless face at this stage, and was a little bit lost without you. What I said before you decided to take your AirPods out was that Marlon is pretty much the only kind of attacking option that Villa will have on the bench this weekend to change it if it's not going well. And let's be honest, trips to Molineux have not always gone well.
Yeah, you're right. Marlon's actually an interesting one that I think. It's interesting. I'd be interested to kind of hear your views really on what we've seen from him so far, and whether he still needs a little bit of time. I mean, obviously he does need time to settle in, but I'm just wondering what kind of impact you think he's made already, and whether that's enough for you to kind of give him an opportunity from the start in a game. I'm not sure we've seen enough so far, really, to make that call. But I think also you've got to think about, well, right now, Marlon is probably second choice for Ollie Watkins' position.
Agreed.
And also either battling really with Leon Bailey, second or first choice for the right hand side. So he's definitely going to be getting games. It's just about when Unai Emery decides to introduce him and when he makes that call to introduce him.
Yeah, I can't see him coming in from the start. To be honest, I think he would have got minutes obviously the other night if it had been available. But we are so short at the moment that we'll inevitably see him on the pitch at some point. But I think he'll stick with Bailey down that right hand side and use Marlon as an impact sub. What have you made of Wolves this season? Obviously, there's a new manager in there now. They've shipped 52 goals, I believe, but that has stemmed since the new manager has come in, as you would expect. There has been reinforcements at the back since then as well. There was murmurings this morning of Villa and Wolves being in for the same centre back, actually, in Kevin Danzo, but I haven't heard anything since we were told that this morning whilst we were about to go on air. So I'd need to clarify that. But Wolves kind of started better when Pereira went in there. They started picking up some results, didn't they? But Villa are the better side. The league table dictates that, but I am just worried because I just know this is a horrible bogey ground for us.
Wolves are. I mean, they could lose 5 games in a row under 2 different managers, which is not a great look. And the number of goals they've conceded has been way too high. And the likely scenario for them is that if they don't stop conceding goals, they're probably going to get relegated. And they've tried to solve that with the signing of Agbadou. I think his physicality has added something to that Wolves backline, and I think he will be a really important player going forward for Wolves. I think he won the most duels out of any Wolves player in the game against Arsenal, so immediately kind of showing a bit of impact on that Wolves side. They're looking for another centre-back in this transfer window as well, trying to get another one in, and I think defensively that's where the major problems have been for Wolves. They've conceded a lot from set pieces as well, too many from set pieces.
Yes.
So
Austin
that'll be
McPhee
an
licking
area
his
for Villa
lips.
to hopefully try and target. And then going forward, Strand Larsen's out for this game. He's really important for them. I think he's a good player, and I've been quite interested to see his development this season in the Premier League. But Vitor Pereira said today he's not going to change his system, so it will be the three at the back, and then they've got a decision to make as to who they play as the kind of main striker for them. Whether Cunha gets moved into that central role, whether Huang plays. I've just seen that's good. That's a good one. That's a good one. You know, I hate these headphones as well. These are like my scramble headphones. Yeah.
Yeah, David Styles for audio listeners has just written in the chat when you're on Sky at 10 a.m. but selling mobile phone contracts at 4 p.m. Because those that are listening via audio, Dave has had to put some quite 90s looking headphones on.
They're also broken as well.
I would
So
say.
it's not only do they look really old, but they're also
Brilliant.
broken.
Yeah, double whammy there for Dave. I guess there's no denying who the Wolves danger man is, and you've touched on him briefly there. Cunha, player that will be linked with, I'm sure, over the next few days because people know that we've got money to spend now and that we need a versatile attacker to come through the door. But he really is the standout player for Wolves. He's having a phenomenal
he's another
season.
one really that's had Villa have done a check on in this window, and maybe would think about if the finances are there. Now it seems like there are finances available, but they might be going for other targets. I don't think he's right at the top of Villa's list at all. But yeah, he's a real talent. He's someone who can play up front as the pure striker. Gary O'Neill tried him there a few times. I think he was. I think he tends to want to come deep and play and link the game, which Gary O'Neill kind of wanted to when he was playing as the number 9 anyway. Didn't want him to do too much. He wanted him to push up against the last line and make runs in behind. But I think his more natural position is actually rather than back to goal. It's when the goal is in front of him, when he's able to pick up the ball in kind of wide spaces and drive forward and get shots off by cutting in from the left hand side on his right foot. So he is a real talent. He's a real threat, and probably Wolves' major goal threat against Villa, given the fact either he's going to play up front or kind of in a kind of off the striker role. So really important that Villa keep a control of him, and almost 2 weeks in a row really for Cunha that he's playing against the team that have looked at him in this transfer window. It was Arsenal the other week and it's Villa this week. But you said last week on the preview that it was a really big week for Villa, and you've got to say it's down to Villa now to try and round off this week with a victory, another one.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we'd have had to have predicted scores, I think we'd probably all predicted a win against West Ham and a draw against Wolves. But by the virtue of the draw with West Ham, we could do with winning this game really for where we are in the table. What I like about Cunha actually is that he's good, a bit nasty. There's not. I feel like something we don't really have that nasty edge at times, and I feel Cunha has got that.
Yeah,
for
interesting you say that. I think I probably agree with that. Yeah, and I think
fiery.
Yeah, and I
He's
think
very, very fiery.
Another player, Liam Delap, probably falls into that category as well. Just likes to have a bit of a battle. Likes to be involved in a kind of physical fight as well. Not that's I mean in a footballing sense. Although he obviously ripped the glasses off that poor guy from Ipswich. But he is. Were you going to jump in on that?
I was about to say, John McGinn better not do his celebration if he scores because those glasses will be getting taken off him.
But yeah, I really like him. I think he's someone who's really adapted to the Premier League. I think when Wolves first signed him, Lopetegui said he's got the ability to be the complete centre forward in the Premier League, and already he's played under 3 different managers in a short space of time since coming to the Premier League, and they're all kind of asking him to do different things. So important for him now to get some stability, and whether that's going to come at Wolves because of the danger that they're in, it's a difficult one. But I think he's shown enough for other teams to be looking at him in this window because I think he's a really good player.
Am I right in thinking João Gomez is suspended because he got sent off in the?
I assume so. Yeah,
I
assume so. I mean, that game turned on that red card. Wolves had an opportunity. Wolves had an opportunity really to try and hammer home their advantage while it was 11 against 10, and then obviously Gomez gets sent off and the game flips a little bit. So yeah, that's a really yeah, it's a disappointing one because I really like Gomez as well. I think he's a good player. I think he's another one that come the summer clubs will be looking at.
Yeah, Ait Nouri, another player that I like, but from what I remember from the Arsenal highlights that I watched, was that he seemed to be deployed on the right hand side at some point during that game. If he's to play on his usual role on the left, obviously Villa have got a patched up right hand side with no Matty Cash. That might be a difficult
Yeah, Ait
avenue for
Nouri's
Villa.
a talent because I think I don't feel like there's a whole load of kind of left-footed wing backs or players that can play in the wing back, full back kind of number 10 position about really. And so automatically I think you look at him and think, yeah, he's dangerous. He's got really good pace. So one for Villa to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, got Gazokes telling me I'm out of sync on the in the chat. I don't know whether I'm coming across out of sync to you, Dave, or if it's happening for anyone else because he's the only person that said it. But apologies if that's happening, and it's typical of the way this show's gone. I will blame Dave leaving and coming back has obviously knocked it all out of whack, which would be disappointing. Shall we finish with a hot/freezing cold?
Do you want me to deliver it?
Yeah, because I don't have one to be honest, so I'm going to need you to do it.
I'm usually going to go down, and I'm going to continue down the Luca Dean route. So that's my hot take that he will find the net.
So, honestly, it's so wild. Probably the second least likely person to score in the team.
Just every time I see him over a free kick, like, this is the one. This one is the one.
I mean, he hasn't scored a free kick since 2022. If my memory serves me correct, and he's only ever scored one for us. So I don't know whether that's the wisest prediction, but we do try and be a little bit out there with our takes ahead of the game. A few people have referenced Konsa scoring. I can only remember him scoring one goal against Wolves, and that was earlier on in the season. People are talking about him having a streak. I don't remember. I don't remember another goal from Konsa against Wolves, but maybe it's just me. Oh, I don't even know. I'm so tired. What can I think of? Let's go with Rodgers to continue and score again. He'll be red hot after his Champions League hat trick. So I'll go for Morgan Rodgers to score against Wolves, a Midlander as well. So that would go down very well with him. Right, we better go because it seems like people are saying that we're really out of sync here, and that's not great experience. So we'll just go. Apologies for that. Usual disaster. Don't know what's going on. But if you're listening via audio, I assume it won't make a difference to you at all. So that's great. So if you found this unpleasant, go back and listen to the audio. Thanks for all the support on the videos this week. We'll be back on. Will be Monday with Greg to look back on the Wolves game. It's been a busy time. So yeah, be back on back on Monday to discuss hopefully a victory against Wolves. Do have a good build up to the game tomorrow, and if you're going, be safe, get back safely, and enjoy the experience.